What does it take to tell the story of a people, their past, their resilience, and the beauty that endures? In a world flooded with headlines that flatten and oversimplify Africa, documentary storytelling can offer something deeper context. What does it take to tell the story of a people, their past, their resilience, and the beauty that endures? In a world flooded with headlines that flatten and oversimplify Africa, documentary storytelling can offer something deeper: context, care, and truth. Today on Lead with Storytelling, we're exploring the power of film to preserve a history and what does it take to tell the story of a people, their past, their resilience, and what does it take to tell the story of a people, their past, their resilience, and the beauty that endures? In a world flooded with headlines that flatten and oversimplify Africa, documentary storytelling can offer something deeper: context, care, and truth. Today on Lead with Storytelling, we're exploring the power of film to preserve history and shift narratives with someone who's made that her life's work. Oghenefego Ofili is a Nigerian documentary filmmaker who is passionate about using story to celebrate Africa's heritage and empower its future. Her love for storytelling began at age 10 when she started sketching characters and writing short stories, seeds that have since grown into a career of powerful, purpose-driven filmmaking. Her documentaries have received national recognition, including a nomination for Best Documentary at the African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards and an Outstanding Documentary Award at the Abuja International Film Festival in 2023. But beyond awards, Fego is on a mission to help young people understand who they are and where they come from through stories that honor the complexity of African identity. In this episode, we talk about what it means to tell African stories with integrity, how film can be a tool for cultural education, and everything between food stories and influencing behavior. Let's dive in.
Thank you, and thank you for tuning in. And I want to say a big welcome to Dr. Oghenefego Ofili.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sachi. Great to see you.
Yes. I'm slowly, building a reputation for inviting all my PAU alumni to this podcast. But with good reason. I mean, PAU has produced great icons of, especially the media and communications faculty. They produce a lot of icons in the storytelling industry, and you're one of them.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Truly appreciate it.
And you're wearing many hats. You're a food nutritionist or food nutritionist. And you had a doctorate in that field or specialty. You're a filmmaker, you're a trainer, you are a storytelling expert, you are a consultant with many and great big organizations, including the UN. How are you doing it? What ties all these roles together? What's so common about? What's the common thread across these different roles with you?
Okay, so I think what ties, just answering the question directly, I would say ties all these roles together is the opportunity to showcase the positive narratives, right, about Africa, right, from talking about being a nutritionist, advocating for how healthy our local and traditional dishes are, to making films focused on documenting our stories, ensuring that we are preserving those stories for future generations on platforms, or what I call digital platforms that are currently relevant, and then consulting with non-profit organizations, also helping them to tell their stories and ensure that the narratives that you have about Africa and whatever is happening around us, Nigeria, is positive anyway. So what really ties them all for me is just that what will you call it, a struggle to reclaim the narrative about Africa. And I'm one who believes those of us in Africa, Africans themselves need to do that for ourselves. We cannot depend on the few seconds that the Western or established media houses decide to put whatever positive news they want to put out. So I think that's what really drives me in all my endeavors and whatever I do.
I think one interesting angle to your personal story is the way you've transitioned, and also the resilience that you've also practiced or demonstrated in pursuing a PhD in one particular field. I know you have a master's in media. These are no mean feats, and I say this because I can relate to it. What it could possibly cost you in terms of commitments, in terms of financial resources to pursue. And I want to ask, why did you pursue or further your studies, especially in nutrition? It was very interesting to me when I heard. Because when we first met, and I knew you were in that space already.
Yeah.
And I was already baffled by why a scientist would be in the same class with me. Some of us were artsy, and we felt we were entitled to, we own the world, that kind of thing. But then we had this scientist in our class who was also showing, interest in these things, and not just showing interest, was doing great things on the side, because you run a firm, an agency, TO Europe, that's also that's focused on and has a strong focus area, storytelling as a focus area, making films and training people and digital marketing, and that was even alone more than what many people were doing in our class then. So my question basically is, what drove you to, why not just do a PhD in big media? Why was nutrition so important to you?
Okay. So let me just describe it this way: where you're in a typical Nigerian family, where after your WAEC, right? Everybody's asking you what you want to study, and you know the courses already. even from deciding that you're going to be a science student, I think it starts from there. I think after your junior secondary, whatever, JSS3, you begin to already be told medical doctor, right? And so so it begins from there. But this is a child who has always spent her time reading, writing stories, coming up with different cartoons and all that, representing her class in everything. Do you get? I wasn't really I wasn't an extrovert, if I could put it that way. I was quiet and all that, but I had that, showing them this is my new book. I've written a new book and all that. And you have all that in a child, but you want the child to be scientist. For crying out loud, I'm the first child, so you obey your parents. So you do the science, you're good, your jam or whatever, or jam begins to jam you, and then you go for biochemistry. And even while you're practicing your biochemistry, you start a magazine on campus, and you are editor-in-chief. So, I think what I'm trying to say is the storytelling and the media house, it came naturally for me. Maybe now that we're more exposed as parents, we're able to see those traits and help our children, right, grow in the path where they are already naturally gifted. But even with that, I got very interested in nutrition because my dad is a professor of animal nutrition. And so when you say animal, they say human beings are also animals. So the knowledge of nutrition was also practiced in my home. And I saw a big difference in the healthy lifestyle in my home compared to some friends out there or other people I met. And I believe that if people were able to maintain their nutrition, you wouldn't really need to be in the doctor's office or in the hospital. So that passion for, and then I wasn't really happy about the whole tag about our food, our local food and fruits. People are talking about avocado pear. If you talk about our native pear, with them, you're like, you're the bush person, you're the one eating corn and dig it. Everybody is like, when you get to school, everybody is forming. But I grew up in a farm. I know how goats give birth and dig it and how they feed. I know how corn grows. I know how yam, and these things are natural. So why are you not? So that's experience at home, and then taking it to, since I'm in the sciences already. So when I felt so much in love with doing biochemistry. I felt so much in love with my nutritional biochemistry and how important it is. And so the media person in me comes out again to say a lot of people need to know this. So I do not excel in planning people's meals because I get frustrated if you don't follow the plan. But there are people who are so talented, they can guide you, they can, keep pressurizing you or whatever, encouraging you to. But I excel in creating stories about how important your nutrition is and advocating for local meals. So I just took that strength, that natural gifting that I had or that I have when it comes to communication and storytelling into my practice. So when you look at my MSc, human nutrition, even my PhD focused on communication, behavior change, using behavior change communication to educate mothers and to dig it. So everything always comes back to, so that's how I was able to, in fact, one of the things that led me to MSc in media at PAU was at some point in my PhD, one of my supervisors suggested that I needed to study media theories because the I was doing behavior change communications for pregnant and lactating women in communities, how to use drama and whatever to educate them, right, so that they can really understand what we're talking about. So she just in one of the reviews, she just said, you need to look at communication theories and decide on which of the theories you want to use in your. And so that was like, wow. So I need to know communication theories. So being at PAU helped a lot in refining my thesis and the PhD project in human nutrition. And I look forward to, I actually have a vision of having, it's just the way you have Grey's Anatomy, right? Where it's hospital and all this stuff. We're going to do something for nutrition. It's somewhere, but you need to gather the financial muscle to do that.
That's pretty ambitious. Just trying to ring up Shonda Rhimes' feed. You can try and pitch it to her. Maybe she can back you up on that one.
Yeah.
But I can totally relate with all that you've said, and I'm really glad that life has taken you on this trajectory because you are making so much impact. Speaking of impact, what does impact mean to you? In your consultations or consultative role with UN and your non-for-profit clients, I believe because your focus would be, in speaking with them, so on impact storytelling. So, how do you describe or paint a picture of what an effective or positive impact is or could be for them?
Okay, so for me, I think just for people to realize and be confident in the work they're doing. There's a way you do some kind of work and you feel like you're just doing something very little and simple. But to pay attention to the data, begin to gather data, begin to ask certain questions that gives you feedback on how that little work you think you're doing is transforming. Let's not even say lives. You know, sometimes when you say lives, it's like lives. It's so loud. It's transforming a mindset for somebody. That is a big, because if I learn something from you and I have a change in mindset, it means that every other person I'm going to be interacting with is going to benefit from that shift in my mindset. So just them being able to realize that the work they're doing is so important and impactful, and they should be confident enough to share it with the public. That realization for me is impact, because it also ties into the narrative that I mentioned about earlier, about we do not have as much positive news coming out of the continent compared to the negative that the global media guys are going to showcase. So my target for impact is tell that your seemingly simple story about that one person that your project has reached. If you're doing that, if I have 1,000 of you doing that every day, I'm sure by the time somebody goes on Google to search Africa, 1,000, okay, maybe it might be small for impressions, but you get my point. So if we keep building on that, we have larger volumes of people sharing those little positive stories about the work they're doing in their communities. I don't need you to be impacting the world. I don't need you to be impacting the whole of Nigeria. It's just that little person, that one person. If we do that, then we have a critical mass of people doing that every day. I believe that we're going to begin to change that narrative, and your Google search about Africa would no more be corruption, coup d'etat somewhere, or whatever negative news that happens everywhere in the world. But unfortunately, we kind of position ourselves to accept whatever the global media. So impact for me is for these organizations to begin to realize that whatever you think is little, in fact, I have somebody in somewhere in India or China who is doing that same little but has amplified it so well with their storytelling that is, if you get there, you think, is this what you were talking about? Yes, but I'm doing more than this. You didn't share it now. Do you get? You didn't tell us. You kept quiet about it because in your mind you felt, it's just small. I'm just doing my little bit. No, that little bit, can you please share it with the world, and let's begin to change the narrative one person at a time. So yeah, for me, that's impact. That's the impact I'm looking forward to having every time I have those conversations or those opportunities to interact with non-profit organizations. Yeah.
I mean, this also ties back to, shifting narratives, shifting behavior. So even if you change behavior just by 1%, 10%, 15%, 5%, it comes on face value, it's data. But when you're trying to craft that narrative or try to explain that shift in itself, you have loads of stories in between, all the ways of nuances that you can enunciate or flesh out into stories that people can relate with, and people can assimilate, just to be able to appreciate what the organization is doing. And I agree with you 100% about that. And that takes me into an interesting term. So I heard talking about shifting narratives. There's this narrative that I find myself involved in once in a while, which is food stories, right? So I work with in a very diverse workplace. So once in a while over lunch, someone sees what I'm eating, and the person assumes that because I am eating rice, the person says, "Oh, it seems you Nigerians eat a lot of rice." Is that like your everyday food? And often have to pause before I give an answer to that kind of question, or before I respond to that kind of conjecture, because the wrong words, the wrong sentence, and you've basically just painted the picture, or you've written the book on Nigerian food or African food. So my question is, what is one common myth about African food or Nigerian food, and what is so interesting about it to you, and then how can we upturn that or change that narrative? So that's like a tree chapter. So please.
Okay, I think a common myth I think I mentioned earlier is that our Nigerian foods are not healthy. When you talk about, so especially the swallow, because even the rice might not be, I'm not sure about the history, but I don't know if rice is native to us, right? But let's go with cassava, let's go with our soups where you have palm oil, right? So there's that general notion that our foods are unhealthy. I don't eat people so people avoid swallow. I'm like, yeah, sorry, I can't avoid swallow. I'm a nutritionist, right? But we don't. The challenge is that we're not paying attention to the right thing. So you are treating all food is good, but it's about portions and sizes, right? So it's not the eba. Let's go to the word, right? The fufu or whatever. That's the problem. It's this portion and size that you're taking at a time, or the frequency in your diet of that particular food. So is there diversification in that food that you're taking? Today about like Monday to Friday, it's the same diary. That's where the challenge is. So it's not the food that is bad, it's the way we are consuming it that we need to begin to check. Say, it makes people big, or makes you have cholesterol and all that. That's not true. Whatever food, even if you decide to start taking, which food will I use now? What would they say is healthy? In fact, almost every food is no more healthy in this new. They want us to start chewing leaves.
Do we stop? Without solve everybody's problem, should we stop eating?
Yeah, maybe we should just take smoothies, right? So whatever you begin to do to extremes becomes unhealthy. That's what people need to understand. So it's not the gari that is the problem. It's not the egusi soup that is the problem. It's in cooking that your egusi soup. How have you handled the vegetables that you put in that soup? Even your vegetable soup. What's the proportion or the portion of palm oil that you have used? So those are the things you should be paying attention to, and not just generalizing that all Nigerian foods or African foods are unhealthy, and then you begin to avoid them. Something we begin to miss out by the time we begin to avoid these foods, especially the vegetables, the soups, is and the fruits. And there are certain minerals and vitamins that are in our foods that you can't find in those other what do you call it, the Western vegetables or whatever that you're looking for. We should always remember that our Creator, I believe in God, right? He created you and put you in a place and provided the things that you need naturally for your type of body, your type of skin, your system to work. So if once you begin to avoid the things that are in your natural environment and begin to seek, let's not even talk about the financial burden of that, because by the time you begin to focus on only imported products, the price of the cost of feeding yourself is going higher compared to staying with your natural products. So nature has already given you everything you need around you. What you need to do is cultivate them and eat them in their variety, right? Variety is important. So I don't just stay with egusi and eba every day, right? So am I having vegetable soup sometimes? Am I having okra? Do you get? Am I having what is the semo? So we have various what we call fufu or swallows. That variety is important because the grains have their own contribution in nutrition and sorry, your vitamins and minerals, right? There are very different phytochemicals, different things that you begin to get from variety of in the variety of your diet. That if you begin to avoid them, then you are losing out. Then you now begin to need a doctor to give you vitamin or some prescribe some what they call multivitamin and supplements. When you could
Supplements.
have
Okay.
yes easily gotten them from the natural food that is in your environment. So I think that's what I would say about that whole perception and beginning to correct it for us first as Africans, then you before we'll deal with the other guys later. But within ourselves, we need to actually fix that challenge because it's not just if I come. I think it was 2 days ago on Twitter. I saw one of these influencers say her child is crying and she wants a bath in the morning. Like, and she put up a poll that asked, "Should I give her the eba? Should I?" And I voted, "Give her the eba." Who says you can't eat eba in the morning? Like, duh. Who made
Mm.
that rule?
Yes, please.
Look, so it's not about what provides energy for the child or the human being and the portion in which you have given. So it doesn't mean that you're not coming to give that. So it's even better. The person has a longer time of the day to burn out whatever energy they get from it. So, but we have this Western thing that has come in that you now feel like Eba in the morning is, how can you be eating Eba in the morning? Until if you see one of my video, until the person is sick and maybe he has a problem and has to throw out whatever was in there, you now begin to see, Oga, you told us fried rice and chicken. What is in this balls of fufu?
This is what causes Twitter wars and social media beef because you and I'm sure apropos doctor will have something to say about this kind of thing where he would maybe be advocating for maybe like portion control and modesty or moderation in this and that, but one day a video leaks of him eating eba in the morning and everybody is now wondering why you told us this, but why are you doing this and this other thing, and not like if it's not contradictory. It's There's a rationale, right?
Yeah,
There's a rationale that informs his maybe advice or even maybe your advice or a doctor's advice to do this one thing and still be able to do this thing, even if they sound like they contradict each other. And I think that's one thing I'm taking from what you said, which is there is the thinking behind this comes from a place of gratitude, as you said also, which is like being grateful for this is the food that you are provided in your present environment to give you everything you need to do everything
knowledge.
you have to do,
Yeah.
right? And you're grateful for that, and you're using all of that, and in doing that, you're going to be able to. It's going to express itself in the ways that we eat, and we have been eating, and like you said, we've stayed healthy, and I believe that we are one of the most healthy people, in the world, with the kind of foods that we have and the kind of foods that we always eat in season.
Yeah.
We eat a lot of seasonal foods, and it's very amazing, and it's something to be proud of. It's something to be grateful for, right?
Yeah.
And I believe because people listening in would wonder if this is a nutrition podcast or it's really about the stories that we tell with our food or through our
Yeah.
food. Right? It reminds me of the time when how we do this. And I'm going to over explain because of the diversity of the people who listen in on this.
Okay.
So we have the 1 year compulsory youth service. While you finish university, you do your youth service for 1 year in a foreign land, and anywhere other than where you studied or you live. And I had the opportunity of helping in conducting the national census that particular year.
Yeah. Okay.
I met someone, a veteran, a Biafran Wars veteran, because I served in the east of Nigeria. I met a Biafran Wars veteran, and a conversation that just started with regular questions around your demographics. How old are you? When were you born? How many children do you have? Those kind of questions. led to a deeper conversation about what he did to survive during the Biafran War. And I'm getting to how this ties to food, because a very strong part of his story about his struggles and his story in the Biafran War story was that when there was starvation and he was hiding from the Nigerian army in the bush, the only thing they had to sustain themselves on was groundnuts, wild groundnuts that were growing in the bush, and they used that groundnuts to make soup. And I believe, and my mom confirmed this as well, because when I asked her, "Is this true?" She said, "We never used to have groundnut soup until there was, we didn't have the luxury of eating all these other fresh foods because of the work condition, everywhere we're all in preparation. But necessity, scarcity, actually inspired groundnut soup, and after then people then added their own twists to the groundnut soup. But that is a story, that's a food story that could be told again from a place of gratitude. And I'm really grateful for that nudge and gem that you shared there. And that brings me to a very interesting question, and also very polarizing question.
Okay.
What is this? What is the fight? What is it between this fight between Nigeria and Ghana over jollof rice? Is it even our food? Because this all started with talk about rice, right? And we can agree, like, rice is not even native to Nigeria. But here we are fighting over this jollof rice.
Yeah, I think it's just pride. The nobody wants to. There's this. We need to understand the relationship between Nigeria and Ghana to understand the fight. That older brother and younger brother kind of war. So anybody who is bringing their head into that fight is just wasting their time. It's safer not to take sides, even when you're in Nigeria. Because you might have a distant cousin or an in-law who is a Ghanaian that comes at you. No wonder the Minister of Communication had to be very diplomatic about even the Senegalese one. I have actually eaten Senegalese. Is it Senegal? Ivorian. I'm sure I've eaten one of them. I think it was the Ivorian one. And that war, when it started, I had an idea, which I hope I will be able to execute someday, to do a tour, like a storytelling tour of foods, because we have so many food, because it was really eye-opening. I was kind of stranded at the airport in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, some years ago, and I had to go get food, right? And my friend came and took me to a nearby restaurant, and I don't know, when I was eating, it tasted like banga rice. I'm like, what did they use in making this jollof? The jollof.
You need to explain that. You need to explain what banga rice is. You need to first, like, two things.
Sorry, I'm not talking to just Nigerians. So,
exactly. Explain that, because that throws everybody off.
So palm fruits. Is it palm fruit juice now? Man, this thing is not easy.
It's palm. But you know what? Let's continue. I will try to put any description for it. Apologies to my non-Nigerian audience. I was like, I will try. But later we'll do it. But right now we're breaking the flow. Please carry on the way you know. Don't worry about it.
So I was like, so this is banga rice now. What do you call it? And he told me the name is made with palm. You wash the palm fruit juice. I said it is banga rice. This is banga rice, and it was so sumptuous, right? So that we have that linkage across at least the West Africa, where we have similar foods. We might have different names, various variety to the ingredients we have, but they have that similarity around that. I think it's something that I should explore. Maybe when we have some when I have some time to do a tour. I would like it to be a kind of very relaxed production where you just taste variety of foods and just see the linkages and begin to see how we are actually not as diverse as we think we are, because that's something that's already also very like top of mind and passionate about, is to bring that. I know we're diverse people, whether Nigerians or Africans, but there's a lot that connects us, and we need to begin to amplify those things that connect us as a people, and to have a more unified front when we face whatever continent that we're facing, in whatever sector we're playing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there for great and in-depth storytelling, because food is personal. Food is personal. It's not just personal to the person telling the story. It's also personal for the people who are also hearing the story. Just a mention of one food brings back memories, and you'd be surprised how therapeutic, how therapeutic such experience of eating and sharing those stories. I think there's a National Geographic series that is running right now. I forget the name of the host. What he did was, or what he if it's still running, I think it is, and I think it already finished the series. What he did was he took some key Hollywood stars, immigrants mostly, and took them to their home nations to experience the culture through their food. And for each of them, it was a moving experience. I think they have Aquafina, and then they have this other lady from Secure, Insecure. So they went to Korea, Senegal, I think France. Yeah, they went all over, and food is just powerful. Food is just powerful, and even more powerful is the stories that we share through them.
Yeah.
And that brings me to your other creative side. I seen that you put out press for your new project.
Yeah.
Battle of Blood, Legend of Arhuanran. Did I get that right?
Okay. Let's do some lesson. So
Please.
it's Arhuanran. I also have two.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, so the ROAN at the end is kind of silent, something. I have to learn it too. It's a nickname for a giant in Benin language. Yeah. So that's when they say somebody is Aaron, they say the person they are describing like somebody who has huge stature or is a giant like kind of person. Yeah. So
what's the project about? You produced a movie, and
okay.
it's already been selected to feature a screen at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Yes, the Toronto International Nollywood Film Festival. Yeah, yes. So Battle of Blood is a real story that happened in the 16th century Benin Kingdom. Talks about a rivalry that happened between two princes at the time. One under the leadership of Oba Ozolwa. Oba Ozolwa is still in history really a very popular Oba or king. So while it's still in line with Tio Inspiro's vision of showcasing Africa, the people, history, and culture, and then that mission of preserving our heritage, right? So we took a deep dive to bring that story to a platform. So this is a very popular story in Benin or Edo State, I should say. where something like, I don't know if you experienced it when you were growing up, you had a grandma or an elderly person telling stories to all the children. It wasn't always about the tortoise or a lizard or one rabbit that was outsmarting another. Sometimes there were real stories about people and what happened in the past. So this story about Arhuanran is very popular. Most, if you even go to the official trailer on YouTube, people making comments. Oh, my mom told me this story. Wow, I'm looking forward to actually seeing. So I really wanted a situation where we no more have grandparents who are telling stories to their children or their grandchildren. Society is kind of changing a lot, but we can't continue to complain. I wish my grandma was telling me stories the way your blah blah blah. We need to begin to adapt. So can we digitize these stories, and a family can now watch that on whatever platform it comes on. So I'm quite excited about it. It was a lot of research, had a lot of support from the Royal Library, the Oba of Benin, in doing this project. Visited the sites where there was actually the Battle of Blood. There's a battle they call the Battle of Blood, like the is it what they call the final, like when the decision was made who was really going to be the Oba, and when whoever became the Oba Esidie, his victory over his brother. So there's actually a battle of blood, and there was a site where that battle happened. We visited that site, saw some relics. Unfortunately, we I don't know. I think it's a culture that we need to begin to imbibe, of keeping relics and preserving. There are places that should be national treasures. People should not just throw things away and not value. There's certain history, the historical artifacts that we should be keeping dear to our hearts. It was a very treacherous journey because the roads and all that, but I don't want to dwell on that. But we had to bring the story, and we went all the length. So it wasn't just interviewing people who knew the story and visiting the historical sites. It was also reenacting scenes, right? Bringing back, so dramatizing. What if you remember when you in documentary class, writing class, where Professor Dr. Ekwazi's class, where I really love the idea of docudrama, where you dramatize what happened, like you're reenacting. So I used that principle here, and it was really really interesting. We worked with the University of Benin, the theatre arts department. It was really, and some thespians also in the Nollywood industry, based in Edo State, were on the project. So it was really 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 interesting. I'm so proud of this product. The Obviously, we have submitted to various film festivals, looking forward to positive responses. Like you mentioned, it's already accepted for screening. That might actually be the official, like, world premiere in Toronto in September. That's in September.
That's huge. That's huge. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And no, I was not in that class. I was not as no, I wasn't that creative. It was more the PR, brand management guys, sitting in the
background. Various trips, I remember now. Yeah.
Oh my, yeah, but one of the things you said that really hit me was the need to preserve our history, and it's in the little things, like the voices of our parents or the stories that our grandparents told us. And I think I had that same realization or epiphany when my kids were, I think, the best time of the days, or the best kind of stories that they like to hear were not the ones that I read to them in books. Were the ones that I told them about a life I lived while I was staying with my mother, before they knew me as daddy. Anytime before they knew me as daddy, they were interested in hearing it. I spent most of my childhood listening to my mother. She was my parents are storytellers. But my dad is more logical. My mom is very creative. She was the one who was she was the one who handed down oral stories to us. And she would tell us stories in the night, in the evenings, when we would maybe have power outages and there was, we were sitting around a lantern. She would be the one to make a hot meal that night and tell us stories. So those stories I told my children time and time again. But one day they said, why don't you're on TV? That's how they see it. That's their translation for saying that on YouTube. They say, Daddy, TV, can you put this story on TV?
Yeah.
So I retold one of those stories. One of the my mom on YouTube, and I actually had my mom do a voice note since she couldn't come on camera. She did a voice note of a portion of that story in our native language, Igbo.
Awesome.
So I put that in there, and when the kids hear it, they were like, they went wild. Oh, it's great.
Awesome. Yeah.
It was really sweet. So I could totally relate with what you said about there's something. I mean, there's something there. We really do need to preserve. Things are changing, yes. You and I are now in our generation. We probably don't have as much time as we might think our parents or our grandparents had to tell us these stories. But we do have enough agency to decide how we want to preserve those things that meant a lot to us, and we know they mean a lot to our children and their children as well. So kudos to you for doing this with the Battle of Blood film. I know it's going to make a huge impact, regardless of the outcome. It's already a success. And I will leave a link to the trailer. Until you probably make the actual destinations where people can watch the full thing. And then maybe I can update it after. But thanks a lot for doing this.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're trying to close, but I don't want to close out without. We still have the rapid fire section, but I don't want to close out without hearing your thoughts about what you see in the future of impact storytelling. What's ahead of us?
I think we'd all begin to agree that people want more authenticity. So in whatever form you're doing your impact storytelling, so whether you're just a personal brand or an organization or government or whatever, people are beginning to pay more attention to being authentic, because there's so much fake out there, especially in the digital world, right? So being authentic, being your real self, having that originality to your voice will now be something that will be celebrated more than trying to fit a particular mold that somebody somewhere. No pun intended for PR and whatever. But I think even the PR experts are going to begin to understand that there's something about just being authentically yourself and being original that people are going to gravitate towards more, because the world is getting less there's less of an emotional connection, so people are beginning to seek it. So when they see it, it just attracts them, right? We have so many packaged and whatever that there's a generation that is tired of that whole packaging. So when they see somebody that feels authentic and real and is just they just need to. My camera went off at some point. Am I still up? Okay. So they just need to feel that. They just need to have that emotional connection with whoever, whether organization or brand, and I think they will gravitate towards So that's what I see: more authenticity, more originality in storytelling. And I think I've heard it, which I think I agree with, is the personal branding thing beginning to be more of the in thing compared to trying to package a faceless brand. People now, and that I think is connected to that what I just said: authenticity and emotional connection for people. Yeah.
And that's a great close. And with that, we come to our rapid fire questions. You ready?
Okay.
Being the nutritionist, and I know you've already addressed where this is going, but my first one is, what's your go-to comfort food?
I'm not sure. I wish I have an idea of where the fire questions are coming from. But hey, let's go. What's the fun in knowing everything?
Okay. So what's your go-to? What's your comfort food?
Comfort food. So should I confess? I'm a nutritionist, but food.
That's all we do here. Nobody will hear. Nobody.
Food anyway. I can actually forget what I ate, the taste, and whether there are some people. Oh yeah. I'm not that passionate about food. But if I was going to just take a guess, I think I'll go with anytime, any day. I think grilled fish. Yeah, anytime, any day. I wouldn't say no to that.
You'll be a regular at OJ's. That's good. Okay.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
Dead or alive. Yeah. That would be Steve Jobs. I like from reading and even listening to him, I like the way his brain works. It was out, and I kind of feel some connection with that brain. So I don't think everything was empty before he left. I don't mind getting some of the things he did not release before he left. Yeah.
Beach or mountains?
Beach. Although I don't know how to swim.
So you don't have to swim. You probably just lay down there. Yeah, that's fine too. That's fine too. It's part of the experience.
Why would I go on the mountain? What's happening now? When is no exercise?
You're surprising me. That's good. That's good. I'm happy. I'm pleasantly surprised. Thank you.
That's good. I'm glad.
Favorite book that. Thank you again. Favorite book that impacted your life?
It would be Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind. Battlefield of the Mind was very transformational for me. I when you grow up as someone who is your first child, and then so you have this responsibility of taking care of everybody in quotes. I don't know if anybody forces it on you, but maybe it's just upbringing, and you just know that you have to be level-headed at all point. So there's a lot bottled in that you have a lot of wars inside, a lot of insecurities, a lot of, am I good enough? Am I doing the right things and all that? But reading that book and understanding that your mind is really a powerful place that you needed to take charge of was really a very great experience for me. Yeah.
What's a skill you've always wanted to learn but haven't had a chance to yet?
Swimming.
No, I'm just saying.
Like for a Delta Peking from a riverine area.
Exactly. My mom would tell me, I think, okay, so I schooled in Abraka, right?
Yes.
Abraka has its its main what's it called tourist attraction is
Yes.
the river.
The river, Ethiopia River.
Ethiopia River. And my mom told me before I left home for school, for uni, she said, this is, and every Nigerian parent or every Nigerian will understand this expression. We don't have water where we come from. Dots.
So you avoided. Did you?
I didn't listen.
Oh, okay.
I didn't listen because I almost drowned. I had an episode.
Oh,
I almost
really?
drowned.
Wow.
Yes, and it was the worst time of the day to even experiment or to even deceive myself that I could swim. And fun fact, Ethiopia River is the deepest river, I think, in West Africa. It's the deepest. But the deception, how deceptive that river is that it's so clear.
Clear, yes.
You can see the, but yes, exactly. And you just think, nah, nothing to it. It's deep.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's deep.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I was trying to experiment. I was working with a friend of mine. He was an expert. This was second year in uni. He was an expert swimmer. He said, I'm going to go over here to the deep end. I'm going to stay here. You go there and swim. I'm like, no, it's okay. No problem. We're together. He said, and there were these guys on the other side. They were enjoying smoking something. You know, It was late in the night. School hadn't resumed. There was nobody around.
Wow.
And that was how I flopped into that river. You know, they drop stone into water. Like just drop stone. That was how I said flopped. As in, the last thing anybody saw was my hand going up with water like this, and then it went under the water. It wasn't even a wave in the air. It wasn't a wave in the air. It was like this. It was like bye, and then the only reason you are speaking with me today is that my friend did not trust me enough to take his eyes off me. So he knew something was wrong. He went dove in and then grabbed me.
Wow. Thank God for the friend.
So since then, I've learned how to swim. At least, marginally.
It's a survival skill I need to pick up. Honestly, I will create time.
Please do. I'll check in. I'm good at that. I'll check in. Thank God. That. This has been. And also, I always say, it never feels like work. Talking with great minds like you. I've really immensely enjoyed our conversation, and thank you for your time and generosity with your expertise.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed the conversation as well. Thank you.
And all the best with the in Toronto. I'm in St. John's, another side of Canada, but it would be nice to just wave wherever you are, because I'm sure I will sense it that you're saying that.
As we get closer to the time, we begin to look at how we are going to do that waka.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, then take care.